area, that depending on who was fit, depending on, he just wanted to rotate, give players going. No, I'm saying you don't go with your strongest 11, but he does feel as though he's got two strong 11s and he's got very strong midfield, hasn't he? So, but I do think he learnt his lesson in the Newcastle game, because basically when we were behind in the game, and we were, I thought, the better team in the game before they scored, he then unleashed everything. He literally went 3-1-6 at times in the build-up. Fullbacks are up high. Odegaard came on. We were literally going for it massively. And I think even in that game before that, I thought the way we were building up, the passing was crisper. He was giving players more license to roam into spaces. It wasn't like the normal controlled build-up where basically we're just keeping possession. It was more free-flowing, wasn't it? And I think that's what, as Arsenal fans, we want to see. And when we see the team capable of playing that way, we want us to carry on playing like that way in every game. And I think, I know in certain games, different formations, different players playing lend itself to different tactics, but I think he's got a lot of players now who are very comfortable in all phases of play, in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So basically, why not allow those players to express themselves if they see the opportunity to do so? I don't want to see players running down the wing and then basically just doubling back and then just to hold on to possession. I want to see him.
It always starts again and again.
I want to see that risk-free reward. It's basically we take. We want to see that as fans, and I think there have been times this season where we have seen it. So I think he is slowly learning his lesson, but I think also, in answer to your question, I think he's been also rotating a bit. And when you rotate the team around a bit, different players, different profiles give you slightly different strengths to each player's game.
Give the opponents I think as well.
I don't know what you think. I mean, I think I look at that midfield at the moment. I think Rice and Zubimendi for me are his two key players, because I think what Rice offers defensively and he covers for Calafiori. Zubimendi's brilliance on the ball, the way he's got such a great diverse passing range. He can invite the press and then go through a press and start an attack.
And then you've got Rice,
and then you've got Rice who can bomb on as well. But then you've got someone like Eze who could start on the left, but also float central when he wants to. So I think you've got a lot of things that all those players offer that give you so much in build-up in attack. The only thing I think we probably need to do more of at the moment, I know he's getting used to us and we're getting used to him. I think we need to, when Gyökeres makes a run off a defender, we need to give him that ball quicker. I think sometimes I think he's been quite selfless in these games, Gyökeres. His work rate, he's been asked to do different things. He's come short when he's needed to come short. He's spun in behind when he's needed to spin in behind. He's drifted over to the right when he wanted basically somebody to help Madueke on that right-hand side. He did that in one game. So I think he's been doing a lot
as well.
He has, yeah.
Where two people
exactly. Exactly. So I just think we need to sometimes be that little bit more expressive, basically, and then when we see him make that run off that defender, play him in. And a couple of times we've done it, and he nearly scored in that Champions League game where he hit the post. I do think there's more to come from him, but overall, I have been impressed by the way that this year we've been, I feel, starting to get into that groove now of sort of like being more free-flowing than just relying on total control.
Do you think any of that is on the... Well, it obviously is, Graham, but do you think any of it is on the players? Because as much as they are doing what Arteta tells them to do, if he really is putting the handbrake down and saying, go out there and express yourselves, it's down for the players to build them relationships, innit? Like we've seen on occasion, Gyökeres and Eze. I was actually disappointed with Odegaard getting injured because he looked like the one player, going back to what you said, that actually tries to hit Gyökeres early. Do you think there might have been a mentality shift in the players to, smell blood and go for it type of thing?
I think so, yes. I think what we are seeing is I still think they work on the training ground on various moves and on tactics and all that. But I think you are seeing players in games now, I think when they see a situation or they smell a situation, that they seize it. And I think there's a bit more confidence now. I think the players, I think with all football teams, if you're surrounded by quality players around you, you've got confidence in every player around you. You've got that confidence to be... not to be too defensive, to sort of like, do you know what? I've got confidence in this guy. Yeah, you trust your teammates, and basically then you're quite prepared to take a risk or to do something expressive, because you've got. It's not about. I think in the past we've always set up the way he set the team up. If we've lost the ball, he's always set us up so we're in position out of possession to win the ball back. Do you understand what I'm saying? Whereas,
Yeah,
whereas
quickly as
now,
high as
I think
possible.
he trusts the defence more. Got the players who can. We've got players, elite duel winners right across the team. He's confident that if they need to win their duel, they'll win their duel. And I think apart from that little moment against Man City where we got caught in transition when Haaland run through, you don't play against Haaland every fucking day of the week, do you? So basically,
Facts.
but I do think generally we have been looking to sort of get everybody up, create those situations where players can give them license to take people on in central areas if they need to, and also play that ball forward if they need to as well to get a player in. And Saka's role, I think, has changed. Sometimes he's drifted out to the left. I've noticed sometimes he's drifted more central. So I think generally, I think slowly but surely we're evolving into a team. I think it's going to be a bit more adventurous this season because there's going to be, as we start winning more games, I think there'll be more confidence in the players, trust in the players. I think whoever he rotates, I wrote down on Potsy's show the other night that basically we can field a second 11 that is not far. It's not as good as the first 11, but I think could be in the
Far
top
off.
6 of the Premier League.
Yeah, could fight for a European place. I've said that as
Yeah,
well.
so I think, you know, slowly, I think tremendous credit has to go to Andre Berta. The players that he's brought in, the targets they went for and they
And the
got
new
over the line,
contracts.
have for the first time in my living memory, and you know I've a bit of a fossil, an old dinosaur, but for the first time
Don't
in my
say that.
memory, I'm looking at this team and I'm thinking the window he presented to Arteta, he's almost like he's not going to have no excuse this year not to win a trophy, is he? He's got the players. He's tactically really astute, Mikel. So why there's been no reason I think for Arsenal not to. I'm not saying we're going to. I think we need to win that Premier League or one of those big two, but he certainly should get a trophy this season. And if he doesn't, there'll be a lot of questions asked why. But there's a lot to like at the moment, and I think we're heading in the right direction. The fixtures now are turning. We had a difficult start, didn't we, with those games against Newcastle away, Man United away, we had Liverpool away, then we had Man City at home. So we had a difficult start. This run of fixtures now, West Ham, Fulham. I think we've got Burnley, Sunderland, Palace. Palace will be a hard game now, but I do think we've got a run of fixtures now where we could, if things go, you can see us getting on a run now, can't you? Whereas last year we were chasing Liverpool all the way. I think now they could be chasing us.
And that's what we need, man. We need to go on a run, like you said. You know, the first 6 games, nobody really wants that. But I then looked at it kind of a thing where, actually, I'd rather them now than, you know, in May, because everybody's on a level playing field. Everybody's trying to get up to speed. Everyone's learning tactics. It's kind of even. And I don't think we've looked out of place this season, if I'm honest. I feel that when I have been negative so far, it's mainly been because of what you was alluding to, like putting the handbrake down and puffing out a bit of chest. But we seem to be doing that. As you said, though, it's just about going for a run. The one thing I would have said, going into this season, because as you rightly said, Graham, like signed 8 players. I wanted to see how and I'm still learning. I wanted to see how Arteta would kind of play it, because you've kind of gone from the team kind of picking itself, like for large periods that he's been here. The 11 has kind of picked itself. The bench, there's been a couple of players that are going to be used, and then you know the academy's made up the rest, didn't it? And now you've gone from that to, obviously we know we're going to see Saliba, Gabriel, Saka, etc. But in theory, as you said earlier, there's 2 positions for each. There's 2 players for each position. You kind of, you don't even know who's going to make the match day squad on the bench, let alone the 11. So that is something I wanted to look at with Arteta. But you did say something, and I am of the belief of this, in that, not that I've got an agenda against Arteta or anything. My only agenda is Arsenal winning, right? But you said no excuses. Like, does he have no excuses? Because Berta's come in, you've brought 8 players in. We've sniffed at it and been second. He is a good manager. You know, he gets all the plaudits, which I'd like to think people give him. Does he, like, is it just a case of you've got the tools, now you need to deliver now?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I think the biggest challenge he'll have this year, and this might sound a bit strange, is he's got to get his rotation right. Because if you think about over the last few years, he's always had like 7 or 8 go-to players. He's overplayed them. That's why they've always picked up the injuries. he's had like 8 players are nailed on. He wants to play every single game. The only players, those 8 players, he trusts so much that they've got to play every game. I won't mention who they are, but normally the only positions up for grabs normally are probably either left back or left wing. They're the main 2 I can think of. There might be one other position, but they were the 2 that always, was it Trossard, was it Martinelli, was it Calafiori, was it Lewis Skelly, or whatever. So, and sometimes in maybe defensive midfield he might make the odd change, you know. But generally 8 players like your Sakas and your Havertzes when they were fit, you know, your Salivas, your Gabriels, your Timbers, and so on. They were literally nailed in to play every single game. Now, if he wants to, he doesn't have. He can rotate, and I don't think he's ever had that situation before where he's got such a good quality depth in his squad where he could rotate. So he's got to get the rotations right. I think that's, for me, is going to be his biggest challenge this year, that to rotate correctly. And that's what I think he's going to need to do, you know. So he doesn't overplay Saka. He's got Madueke he can play in certain games. He's got to make the right choice when to rotate certain players out, bring players in, and the level stays, you know, not far short of what it is of the player that you take out, so you get the job done.
Exactly.
And that's going to be crucial if you want to fight on 4 fronts. If you want to go, you know, win the Carabao Cup, if you want to have a long run in the FA Cup, if you want to go, you know, to the Champions League final and also challenge in the Premier League, you know, you've seen it. What Pep's done really well over the years is he's been able, because he's got quality in his squad, he's been always able to rotate with the wide players, the wingers. He's also been able to rotate in central midfield to keep Kevin De Bruyne fit, and also he rotates his centre halves. He's had defensive players, 2 for every position he can rotate there. So he's got now, in effect, I would say, what Pep has had at Man City for the last few years, when Man City were really at top of their game, when they had that really top squad. And he's got that now, Mikel. So I think the biggest challenge for him is to get that rotation right. Yeah. And if he gets that rotation right, there'll be, you know, that should obviously reward him. If he doesn't get that rotation right, you know, you could easily fall out of a cup or you know, fall away in the league. So, but there will be no excuses to answer your question, DG. I think this year, if he doesn't win a trophy, I think that there will be serious questions asked. I know they're wielded to him at board level. You know, the Americans love him and all the rest of it, the owners. But at the same time, if he doesn't deliver, there's going to be, with social media now, with the pressure of, you know, he'll be reminded every day on Sky Sports of you know,
starting to get a bit arsy in his press conferences as well when he's asked the same things. He's starting to have enough.
Exactly. He's got a fantastic record as an Arsenal manager. I think he's won more points in the last 3 years than any manager in the Premier League. But we haven't won anything. I'm
on to him more, Graham, about winning.
So it doesn't matter, does it? I mean, he's won 177 of his first 300 games, and he's up there with the likes of Fergie and Pep Guardiola and all the top managers. But they won trophies in their first 300 games. He's just won an FA Cup. So yes, surely sooner or later, a big club like Arsenal needs to be winning the trophies and the big trophies. And if he can't deliver it, they're always going to say he's a bridesmaid. You know, he's taken us so far, but he's not going to get us over the line. So those sort of questions will be asked, DG, if he doesn't deliver this year. And now when he's got that squad that we know now is a top squad, and he can rotate 2 players for every position, the quality and the depth of the squad now. And it did get him through the early games, didn't it? Because when we had the injury to Saka, Madueke shone in his position, and the depth that he brought in at the start of the season, when we had Odegaard's injury, he could rotate. So and we haven't missed those players. So basically, he's got now the tools, I think, to deliver. And if he doesn't deliver, I think there'll be a lot of pressure on whether he should retain his job. It's ridiculous. We had this on Potsy's show the other night. Basically, the some guy put in the chat, why are you Arsenal fans debating Arteta? He's top of the league. He is top of the league. But at the same time, we've been here before as Arsenal fans, haven't we? So it's something that I think he's going to need to get right this year. And I think he's going to need to deliver a trophy. I think, you know, and I think there will be no excuse if he doesn't.
That's where I'm at, Graham, because for me, I rate Arteta. I think the statistics, like you alluded to, you know, there's always statistics, more points than the Invincibles. At one point, we only had a couple of losses in a calendar year. Everything reflects that the manager is a very good manager. Like, we are closer to getting over the line than going backwards. Like, we're in the Champions League. As a man that's been in the Champions League, this will be his 3rd year as a manager. He's got quarters and semis. As you said, we've got the depth. I think it's realistic to expect or ask us to get over the line. If I didn't rate him and I didn't think he's capable, I wouldn't say it. But you've started to make me kind of dream. And for me, I think you're a good manager. I think we got a good team. But to be a great, it's either like you're saying, you need to win a champs, you need to win a Prem, you need to put yourself in history. And for me, the one criticism, the major criticism I would say of Mikel Arteta, I admire him so much. You know, he's shown big balls to take this job with hardly any experience. Of course, he's made mistakes. But the one thing I would say as a club, especially like in the last 3 years, excluding this year, would be 4. We haven't seized the present, and I think sometimes football is about seizing the present moment. And I feel it's actually a shame that we haven't won a league or 2 in the last 3 years, or some League Cups. Like, we've had some good nights out, don't get it twisted, but we haven't done anything. And like what you said there, when you know Berta's come in, he's done well. We actually rate our squad individually and collectively. I don't think there's any excuses. I personally don't feel he'll get sacked if he doesn't win silverware, because of what you kind of said. Like, there's a lot of admiration from internally. And I just think our football club has shown that regardless of what us fans think, they won't actually do certain things. Whether it was January, we all wanted signings, we never got that. A lot of people didn't want Arteta from the jump. A lot of people wanted Wenger gone for years. So it'll be interesting. But you know, there is a team I forgot to ask you where we're talking about the league, yeah. And really, I only thought of it when you mentioned Manchester City in the depth. Like, where do you look at with Manchester City? Because they're kind of going under the radar. Like, they're seen as being in the title race, but it's mainly just us and Liverpool. Like, where do you see City in this all?
It's strange, isn't it? Because I watch Man City, and they've over the years, Man City won Premier Leagues without a striker. They literally, he had false nines, didn't he? He redefined how to win league titles, Pep, with quality midfield and wide players and no striker. And now, when I watch them now, the team is just set up for Erling Haaland, isn't it? The whole team is about Erling Haaland. So if Erling Haaland stays fit for the season, and they continue to play the way they are, and they're looking to play to his strengths, if he continues to deliver, they'll be there or thereabouts, won't they? Because basically, you've seen already, the last few weeks, he's looked absolutely phenomenal. They started to get on a run again. I don't think they've got the quality in the team, even in the squad, that they had when they were winning Premier Leagues. I think he's rebuilding it. Yeah, the defensively they're not so strong. And Donnarumma has added something. I do think when they get the spine of their team out, you know, if you had a spine of your team, Donnarumma, Rodri, and Haaland, that's a pretty strong spine, isn't it? One of those centre halves like Diaz, who's a quality centre half. If you had those 4 players, they stay fit. I think Phil Foden is not the player he was a few years ago. Doesn't seem to be the same level for me. I know he's still a good footballer. I'm not saying he's not. They've had 1 or 2 injuries to the players he's brought in, like Mamouche and Cherki. I think Reinders is a good player. I think, I don't think they got the same quality in the wide areas, albeit Doku is a good winger and Savinho's has flashes. They haven't got the quality they had in the wide areas anymore. I think defensively, in the fullback areas, I don't think they're like Liverpool. I don't think they're strong in those areas like we are. Yeah, so I still think that they're going to be there and thereabouts, you know, because I think he's got a squad, when they're all fit, he can rotate. Whereas I don't think Liverpool have got so many rotational options as he's got. I just feel that. I just think Liverpool have got better players than Man City. So I still think it's good between Arsenal and Liverpool, but I think Man City will be there or thereabouts. If both Liverpool and Man City were not to be at the level that they could be, Man City could take an advantage, because particularly if Haaland continues in the form he's in, he's a phenomenal striker. But I think for me, it's between Liverpool and Arsenal for the title this year. But I wouldn't rule Man City out. But I think they are at the moment the 3rd best team, in my opinion. Some people might think different, but I haven't seen them. They struggled at the start of the season. They lost against Spurs.
They were fortunate to beat Brentford.
They lost against Brighton.
Haaland made something happen, and they just got
it. I thought they, I watched them against Brentford last week, and I know they were in control of that game, but they never looked like putting it to bed. The old Man City would have been ruthless. Would have taken them for 3 or 4. And against us, you saw how much respect they had for us. That literally, he took all these attacking players off, and they were scared of us. And they literally sat back in a 5-4-1. I can't believe a Pep team.
We're the only team that defends.
Yeah. So, but that Crazy. Showed me that to me showed where we are compared to them. So, I do think that they've. I'm not saying they're not out of it. I do think it'd be one of those 3 teams, but I think that it's if you had to pin me down, which would be the two fighting it out, I would say us and Liverpool.
I'm with you with that. I think I'd still have Liverpool as the favourites because I give them the fact that they've won it. I am quite bullish about our chances, but it is early doors, and it's more for me. I think the biggest advantage we have is simply put, we should be hungrier than the other teams because they've actually done it, and obviously we've got more players. Like God forbid, I'll never wish injuries on players, but couple injuries, especially to that back line at Liverpool, marred with teething problems, that could come back to bite them. City have looked the most. I used to think City were invincible, Graham, and now they look the most kind of mortal or human, if that kind of makes sense. And I think
Yeah.
you touched on it. The one thing I'll give City, you've got Haaland, potentially one of the best players in the league, and football is decided at both ends. You have got Donnarumma who can bail you out of trouble. You have got Haaland, but then I look at their defense, I look at their midfield. They can be got at, and tactically, any competent manager, like whether it's Arteta or whatever, you can kind of stifle that. And then, as you said, you're kind of relying on young, quote unquote, young temperamental wingers like Doku and Silvinho. So I think we've got a chance, but I do think they're going about their business kind of calmly. So then that leads me to ask you, yeah, would you, and it's early doors, but what do you make of our Champions League chances? Because I'd rather win the champs than the Prem, admittedly, but I think we've got more of a chance of winning the Prem. Like I can see a reality we win the Prem. I think champs is a bit. I need the stars to align, if that makes sense, Graham.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we've got more chance of winning the Prem because I just think cup football is cup football. You can be brilliant in cup football, but if you have an off day in a cup cup game, you're out basically. So I think we'll qualify in the top 8. I think we're one of the favourites for winning it, and I think we've got a great chance. But we never won the Champions League, and I know we haven't won the Premier League for a while either. But we've never won the Champions League. I do think we're more set up to win the Premier League because over a longer period of time, I just think with the squad we got, I do think we can do that with that squad. Whereas in the Champions League, I think as good as we are, if we just have one day, if we don't turn up in a game or one team just suddenly has a great day against us, it could end just like that. I'm a lot older than you, so I can think back to 2003-04 when I thought we were the best team in Europe at that time. We were invincible that season, and we went to Stamford Bridge in the quarterfinals, and we drew with Chelsea 1-1. And we came back we'd beaten Chelsea in every game that season, and they turned us over in the second leg 2-1 at Highbury. And then in the semi-final they played.
Time I cried over football that game or that leg.
Yeah, I think they then played Monaco in the semi-final, who beat them, and then the final was between Monaco and Porto. And I thought, we'd never have a better chance of winning the Champions League. We did that year. If we'd beaten Chelsea, we'd have played Monaco in the semi and Porto in the final. Mourinho's Porto. I still think we'd have beaten them with the team we had. But we just didn't turn up in that second game. So that's the problem with the Champions League. I think we're capable of winning it. I think we're up there with the likes of PSG, Real Madrid. I do think that we've got a good team when we put our first 11 out. Obviously, they've got more. They've got more stardust. I think PSG, Real Madrid have got more stardust with like Bellingham and Mbappe. But I just think, but then we beat them last year, didn't we, over 2 legs? So PSG, I didn't think we turned up in the first game at the Emirates, and we conceded an early goal, and
that's where the depth comes in. Because we had injuries for that game.
And I think we missed Partey, didn't we, in that game? A massive loss. He got suspended, didn't he, in the game before? So I do think that I would love to win the Champions League. Like you, I'd love to win the Champions League. I've seen us win 6 league titles since I've been following Arsenal. I've never seen us win the Champions League. So I'd like to see that. I'd love to see that, So I think we've got a great chance, I just think out of the two, I just think we're better suited to win the Premier League.
You said it there in that we've got a good chance of winning the Premier League. I just wanted to ask you, because obviously you've been on the block for a lot longer than me, but I think Arsenal fans, obviously some younger than me, people like myself that are in our 30s or people like yourselves in their 60s, like I think every Arsenal fan can probably say that, Europe has been filled with more nightmares than like tears of joy. Like, why do you think as a football club, we've just never done it in Europe in any competition, really and truly? We've just never had that kind of pedigree, or we've just not, I don't want to say we ain't been serious, but yeah, we just ain't done it. We ain't done it in Europe.
I wish I knew the answer to that. But our European record is appalling. The first year I was following the team, my dad used to take me to games. We won the old Fairs Cup, which is now like the Europa League, I suppose. Now you could argue, but it was like the Fairs Cup. We won that year, and then the next, I was at the final when we won in Copenhagen, and we beat Parma in the Cup Winners' Cup in '94. They're the only 2 European.
Europe. At least
Yeah,
you've
so I
seen us
see.
win something in Europe. I haven't seen nothing.
I don't remember. Uh, I wasn't going. I was going to games in 1970, but I don't remember us winning that final. We didn't go to. It was 2 legs the final. The second leg was at Highbury. We were 3-1 down from the first leg, and we won the second leg 3-0. I just do not remember that game. I was about 8 or 9 years old. But obviously, I went to the Cup Winners' Cup final against Parma, who had the likes of Zola and Brolin. They were a top team then. They were, and Alan Smith scored the winner. And it was like we didn't have Ian Wright in that final. He was suspended, and we defended really well to get a 1-0. It was like the old 1-0 to the Arsenal job. But I've seen us lose games in Europe, finals in Europe we should have won, like the game against Real Zaragoza when Naeem scored from the halfway line. That's the only thing that Tottenham fans had over us for fucking years, wasn't it? Basically,
Exactly.
one of their ex-players scored against us in the final. I don't know why we've been so poor in Europe, DG. I really can't answer it. We've just lost the teams that we should have beaten simply because it's a cup game and we just haven't played to our ability in those games, I think. Liverpool in Europe have always had that Anfield factor, sort of like, I'll take that. Like, I'm not saying we'd never recreated the atmosphere at Highbury, because I've been to some European nights at Highbury where we did recreate the atmosphere, but I think Liverpool, if you think back to Liverpool, they've won Champions Leagues and they've won European Cups because Anfield on a Wednesday night, that pitch,
Magical.
crowd close to the players, the atmosphere, I think at Anfield, and I've been to Anfield, is as good as anywhere, any football stadium. I know you could argue there are times when it's flat, when they're playing lesser teams, but on a big European night, I'm not saying I've been to them, but I've heard of what it's like at European nights. People, Liverpool fans I know, go to those games. It's something special, apparently. And I think that helps the team. I don't think we're able to recreate what they have, for example, on European nights, and that's no excuse really, because if you've got good players, you've got good teams, they should still deliver, but they haven't been able to do it. So in answer to your question, I've absolutely no idea. We've had great opportunities. We had that great run to the Champions League final, and then obviously Lehmann got sent off, and although we took the lead, we were defending a 1-0. I think we've had a few things go against us in games maybe, but I'll be churlish to say that's the reason we haven't won it. I just don't think we've been good enough at the end of the day. Let's be honest about it. And I'll come back to it. We've had good teams not good enough to win the Champions League. I've seen a lot of teams who are not the best teams in Europe win the Champions League, like Chelsea. They've won 2 Champions Leagues.